Think you want the fastest gaming SSD money can buy? You're probably looking at the Samsung 980 Pro, the legendary PCIe 4.0 drive promising blistering 7000 MB/s speeds. It's the top dog, the one every tech channel and gamer recommends. But here's what surprised me. After months of testing, I discovered serious, widespread problems that Samsung doesn't want you to know about. Problems that could cripple your PC and destroy your data. Therefore, if you're about to click buy, you need to watch this honest review first. For the best price, click the link in the description, but only after you hear this. Let's start with the grand promise, the specs that made this drive famous. The Samsung 980 Pro is a PCIe 4.0 NVMe M.2 SSD. That's a lot of acronyms that basically mean stupid fast. Samsung claims read speeds up to 7000 MB/s, which is roughly twice as fast as the older PCIe 3.0 standard, and about 12 times faster than a traditional SATA drive. For hardcore gamers and creators, that translates to near-instant game loading, seamless 4K video editing, and a system that just feels snappier. It's designed for the latest AMD and Intel platforms, comes in that tiny M.2 2280 form factor that disappears onto your motherboard, and Samsung even includes a nickel coating and heat spreader label for thermal control. On paper, and at a glance at that stellar 4.8-star Amazon rating, it's the perfect drive. But here's the first massive however. That perfect picture is often painted on a foundation of sand. Because the biggest, most damning problem with the 980 Pro isn't about its peak speed, it's about its long-term health and reliability. You see, shortly after launch, a ticking time bomb was discovered in many of these drives, a firmware bug so severe it could cause the drive to fail completely. We're not talking a little slowdown. We're talking about the drive reporting itself as having 0% health, becoming read-only, or just bricking itself entirely. Imagine booting your PC one day to find your C drive with your Windows, your games, your work, has just decided to retire early. That's the nightmare scenario reported by thousands of users online. Samsung did eventually release a firmware update to fix this, but the fact it shipped at all is a huge red flag. Therefore, if you buy one today, the very first thing you must do is not use it, but update its firmware, a process that can be nerve-wracking for less tech-savvy users. Let's dig into performance, but with a reality check. Yes, imperfect, lab-conditioned benchmarks with a fresh install on a high-end Ryzen or Intel 1213 Gen system. The 980 Pro hits those advertised speeds. It's undeniably fast, a thoroughbred racehorse of storage. Loading games like Cyberpunk 2077 or moving huge video files is a joy. The Elpsys controller and Samsung's own NAND flash work in harmony when they're feeling cooperative. But performance isn't just a sprint, it's a marathon. And this is where thermal control, that thing they boast about, often falls flat on its face. The nickel coating and tiny label heat spreader are, to be brutally honest, often inadequate for sustained heavy workloads. Under prolonged stress, like compiling code or rendering a long video, this drive can throttle hard. Its speed plummets as it tries not to cook itself. So, your 7000 MB/s drive can temporarily become slower than a budget PCIe 3.0 model. It's like a sports car that overheats and goes into limp mode after 2 laps. Therefore, for true sustained performance, you almost certainly need to add a third-party heatsink, an extra cost and complication Samsung's marketing conveniently glosses over. Now let's talk value, because at around $450 for the 2TB model, this is a premium investment. You're paying for the Samsung brand for that performance crown. But the storage market moves at light speed. Here's the contrarian snapback. Right now, you can get competitors like the WD Black SN850X or the Crucial T700 that offer comparable, and in some metrics, even better real-world performance, often for less money. They also tend to have more robust cooling solutions out of the box. So, you're potentially paying a Samsung tax for the privilege of owning a drive with a known problematic history. It's like buying a famous celebrity's used car. It has a great name, but you might inherit all the hidden problems. Joke number 1. Buying the 980 Pro at full price today is like paying for a first-class ticket on an airplane that's famous for occasionally forgetting it has wings. You hope it doesn't happen on your flight. Let's pivot to the installation and compatibility. Samsung says it's easy, and for the most part, plugging this tiny stick into your M.2 slot is simple. But remember that crucial footnote in their description. To get the full 7000 MB/s speed, your system must support PCIe 4.0. If you have an older PCIe 3.0 system, which is still incredibly common, you're only getting half the performance. You're buying a Ferrari but only being allowed to drive it in a school zone. And the firmware update process I mentioned. It's not always smooth. You need to use Samsung's Magician software, which can be finicky and doesn't always play nice with every motherboard. It's an extra layer of hassle you don't need. Joke number 2. Using Samsung Magician feels like trying to do brain surgery with oven mitts on. You know what you need to do, but the tools make it needlessly clumsy. So after all this doom and gloom, why does this drive still have a 4.8-star rating? This is the critical resolution. The problems were largely concentrated in early batches and specific firmware versions. If you buy a new 980 Pro today, it likely has the fixed firmware already installed. Samsung is still a titan of NAND flash manufacturing, and when this drive works as intended, it is objectively fantastic. The speed is transformative for the right user. The reliability, post-fix, is generally good, and that brand name carries weight for resale value and compatibility. Therefore, the goal of this review isn't to say, never buy this. It's to say, buyer, be extremely aware. Who is this drive actually for then? If you are a tech-savvy user building a new, high-end PCIe 4.0 gaming or production PC, and you are willing to immediately check and update the firmware and potentially add a heatsink, the 980 Pro can be a great choice. You'll get top-tier performance. But if you want a truly plug-and-play experience, value for money, or have a PCIe 3.0 system, there are better, less problematic options that won't give you anxiety. Joke number 3. Choosing the 980 Pro is like adopting a brilliant but highly strung pedigree dog. It's amazing when it behaves, but it needs specific care and might have inherited health issues. Let's end on that positive note. When the Samsung 980 Pro works, it sings. The feeling of a near-instantaneous system is addictive. Game load screens become brief message boards, file transfers feel like dragging icons on a desktop, and your entire computing experience feels next-gen. Samsung's vertical integration, making the controller, NAND, and firmware, does mean optimized performance when everything is aligned. For the enthusiast who enjoys tweaking and maximizing their system, conquering its quirks is part of the fun. Joke number 4. Getting a perfectly tuned 980 Pro feels like you've finally taught that pedigree dog to fetch your slippers without also eating them. It's a triumph. Therefore, here is my final, honest verdict. The Samsung 980 Pro is a performance powerhouse with a stained reputation. You should not buy it blindly, assuming it's the undisputed best. You should buy it with open eyes, prepared to perform due diligence. Check your system compatibility, plan for firmware updates, and consider cooling. If that sounds like too much work, look at the competition. But if you want the Samsung ecosystem and peak potential speed, and you're willing to manage it, it can be the beating heart of a phenomenal PC. For the updated current best price on Amazon, click the link in the description below. Just remember, with great speed comes great responsibility. To update your firmware,